All right, I think we are live. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Okay, how are you doing? Big up to the sister for the intro video that she created, even if it's a bit pixelated. But yeah, salams to all. Eid Mubarak to everyone. Let's start this off. Like the video. We've got one in the house already. And if you're new around here, do subscribe if you haven't already. But yeah. Let's wait for it to build up a bit. Comment below with any questions you've got for me and your thoughts on what I'll be discussing as well. So we'll go through face coverings, obviously Eid tomorrow. We'll go through the death rate, talk about the clapping, we'll talk about COVID, is it ever going to go away? Schools, we'll try and cover quite a bit. Inshallah. Let's see what happens. But yeah, let's get it. I'm going to start with a question from one of our viewers, which was regarding Eid and on different days. So why do some of us do Eid on different days? Obviously, some of us start Eid on different days, so that has an impact. The second main factor would be, obviously, some people go by the ruling that if they can't see it in their homeland, then they don't celebrate it. Or the closest Muslim country, they don't necessarily follow Saudi like other groups. Another question from one of the guys that subscribed to us. Thought on Newcastle United and the imminent takeover by the Saudis. Yeah, I think it'd be surprising if we did see them challenging for a title in the next decade. The money that's going to go into them looking like is going to be billions. So makes Man City look like a small fish in a big pond. But yeah, I think that they'll start off by signing players like Man City did when they started, like Robinho, Elano, those kind of players. Good players, but not elite players. They won't start getting like people like Mbappe straight away. But yeah, see what happens. If they get Pochettino, that's going to be a massive coup for them. Yeah, we'll have to see. Comment on your thoughts on here. You're using StreamYard today for the first time, so let us know if you like the lookout. The name bottom left, logo in the top right, should be on your screen. Let's get this sticker going as well along the bottom. There you go. But yeah, let's get into it. So on the 11th, so last week, Monday, people in England were told by the government that they should now aim to wear face masks on public transport and in some shops, the government has said. But they don't protect you necessarily, but protect against inadvertent transmission of the disease to others if you have it asymptomatically. And a face covering is not the same as a face mask, so those worn by healthcare workers must continue to be reserved for those who need it. But yeah, we've got to get our scarves and snoods out. Cover your face when you go to Aldi, thank you. Johnson said that the public should exercise good, solid British common sense in adapting their lives to the new rules, whatever that means. I never knew there was different types of common sense depending on your nationality. But yeah, he's on an absolute high there. People obviously interpret it in their own ways, and that's the problem. When there's a lack of clarity in leadership, it just leaves a vacuum for anything to happen. People make their own minds up and interpret it their own ways. As you can see, people go to beaches and parks all over the UK. The government published a 50-page document on Monday afternoon last week, alongside new guidance for the public, setting out more details of its planned timetable for lifting COVID-19 restrictions. So if you can't work from home, you should travel to work if it's open. sectors such as food production, construction, manufacturing, logistics, distribution, scientific research. And as you can imagine, testimonies from individuals in vocations such as bricklaying, construction work, mechanical engineering, civil engineering, sales, chemists and warehouses as well, those in them environments. They've confessed social distancing is a myth, it's impossible in those environments. So they're putting their own health at risk and their families. Some are having to take unpaid leave. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, ultimately, it's shifting responsibility onto the individuals and the employers away from the government. Let us know, have you been back into work? Is your workplace safe? Have you got corridors and stairways where you can't socially distance? It's physically impossible. Have you had a one-way system in your office introduced? But yeah, workers who fear that their workplace is not safe will have no automatic right to walk out, the business secretary Alok Sharma has said. Those that are concerned should raise it with the bosses first and report them to the councils or the health and safety exec if they're not satisfied. And then on to the furlough schemes. So the UK government has been paying the wages of 7.5 million furloughed workers. That's been extended to October to help the economy bounce back. And Paul Johnson, director of the Institute of Fiscal Studies, the economic think tank, estimates that the scheme will have cost nearly £100 billion by October. It's thought that about 935,000 businesses signed up for the scheme in total. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of money to pay back, and how they get it back is a question for another video, so we will discuss that. But we've got to make sure that the scapegoats do not become the furloughed workers, they're not weaponized, because you're seeing now teachers and their unions, nurses and doctors asking for a pay rise, God forbid. If anything, those people should be at the front of the queue getting pay rises, because parents are seeing now how difficult it actually is to homeschool. But yeah, let's move on. So excess deaths were revealed last Tuesday, and I think we're currently sitting on about 62,000 deaths according to the Financial Times' latest estimations. That includes those that have tested positive for COVID and then obviously passed away, those whose death certificates mention COVID, and the deaths over and above the usual number at this time of year. So it is through the roof. Per million or per 100,000, whichever way you look at it, is the highest, if not the highest in the world. The daily government figures miss people out who've never had a test, so it's a poor measure of the overall death toll. When testing was largely limited to hospitals in the UK, those figures were missing deaths in the community. So if me or you pass away at home, that number wasn't being counted. And yeah, it's those excess deaths, the number between the number we normally see and what we're used to seeing, compared to what we're seeing at the moment. That's what statisticians are using to capture the true toll of the virus. And while these figures do increase every day, hundreds every day here. You've got to remember that obviously behind each of those stats is a human being, hundreds of human beings. And then on Tuesday last week as well, the story came out about a UK rail worker, Belly Mujinga. She passed away, and yeah, she was spat at whilst on duty, which is horrifying, disgusting. For England and Wales, police reported a 14% increase in spitting attacks. To paraphrase, people don't like being told what to do after being in lockdown for this long, one officer said. And on Wednesday last week, we heard COVID-19 may never go away. The WHO, World Health Organization, warned we may have to live with it and learn to live with it, like HIV. Dr. Mike Ryan, the emergencies director, he warned against us trying to predict when it's going to disappear. So he said we need to get into the mindset that it's going to take some time to come out of this pandemic. So yeah, Friday last week, the whole shenanigans with the schools came about. So 1st of June is the date that's touted as when reception year 1 and year 6 are going to go back, and I think year 12 as well. But the BMA supported the doctors. The infection rates are still too high, and we need to avoid a second spike, obviously. And this is the thing, isn't it? Like, how do you keep kids apart in an environment like a classroom or a playground? How do you keep kids apart? And there's still not enough known on how easily it can be transmitted between kids. And we've seen as well, obviously, the R rate increased now it's between 0.7 and 1. But yeah, let's get to the main story. Let's get to the main story this week for myself. So let's talk about this clapping business. So for the last few weeks, every Thursday, people have been outside their front doors, on the balconies, or just sticking their heads out the windows, clapping for the NHS staff, including those on the front line as well as key workers. Now, the originator, a Dutch national living in South London, Anne-Marie Plas, said it was better to stop whilst it was at its peak. She said, the narrative is starting to change, and I don't want the clap to be negative. So what she was referring to was what we saw towards the back end of this week. So on Thursday, another U-turn for the government. Overseas NHS staff and care workers will no longer have to pay a controversial visa surcharge. If you haven't seen already, Hassan Akkad and his videos on Twitter, check him out. It's a big win. It's a big win for Labour and Sir Keir Starmer. So the current surcharge is £400 per year. This is what all migrants have to pay, whether they use NHS or not. In October, that's going to rise to £624. Now, after the government's U-turn, it's due to be removed for all NHS staff, including health workers, porters and cleaners, as well as independent health workers and social care workers, many of whom are on the minimum wage. Now, doctors, nurses and paramedics are also included. They'd previously been given a 1-year exemption. And yeah, just 24 hours before the U-turn, at PMQs, Johnson dug in over the charge in an exchange with Starmer. He justified it because of the financial contribution it made to the NHS, which he claimed it was £900. And it is £917, but that's raised over 4 years from all migrants paying the surcharge. Now, the House of Commons Library estimated it would cost about £35 million a year to exempt all NHS staff and more for care workers. So, in the grand scheme of things, a pittance. So, yeah, now unions and campaigners are calling on the government to extend the NHS surcharge waiver to all migrant workers, including teachers, bus drivers, and charity workers. It follows a U-turn policy on Thursday when obviously Johnson announced that they would no longer have to pay it. Immigration groups are now asking for clarity over whether this shift in policy means that families of healthcare workers will also be exempt from the charge. Nazir Ramadan, good name, the director of charity Migrant Voice, also said that NHS surcharge should be waived for all migrant workers. So she said, the partial U-turn by the government doesn't go nearly far enough. From October, a family of 4 renewing their 2.5-year visas will have to pay £6,240 just for the surcharge. That's on top of the £4,000 cost of the visas. And just like British workers, migrants contribute to the NHS through taxes. So it's not only unfair, but crippling for many. And at our meeting with our members, we learned that teaching assistants, cleaners, bus drivers, and other workers across the country are drowning in debt and struggle to feed their children. To abolish the charge for some, but not others, is cruel and indefensible. It feeds a poisonous narrative, so one that has flourished during this pandemic, one that says that some migrants are worth more than others. So let's drop this on here. What are your thoughts on the clapping? What are your thoughts? Yeah, they pay tax. So in essence, they're paying twice, whether they use the NHS or not. Essentially, it's tax apartheid. 6 years ago, to be fair, only 6 Labour MPs voted against that immigration bill. 3 of them you can guess: Corbyn, John McDonnell, and Diane Abbott. Essentially, it's a tax just because they weren't born here. So With the U-turn, fundamental equality has been restored to some extent, but we're not quite there yet. Now, it is Eid tomorrow for many Muslims around the world. In the UK, the message is still not clear to many about the current guidelines and imposition of restrictions on ourselves, our way of life. But I'll tell you this, stay in your house. Let's not make ourselves look foolish. Don't give them easy reporting. In the mainstream media, you can just see it now. All the Muslims on the streets, and the mainstream media just have an absolute field day. It's going to be about 20 degrees, party atmosphere, but just celebrate in your own damn house. Don't break social distancing rules. Don't make it easy for them. Everything that's been happening has been exacerbated because we hadn't properly prepared and reacted in a timely manner. When I say we, I mean our government. Now, we're seeing the effects of it now, the fact that we're still in lockdown. Nothing's really changed. They could have had a better handle on it, but just went on holiday. It's not all their fault. China, the World Health Organization, got a lot to answer for, and slowly things will come out. There'll be full inquiries and whatnot, I'm sure, and we'll do a separate video on that as well for you guys. But they could have acted more effectively. It would have involved having to mirror Germany's approach. But can you imagine a party elected on the back of xenophobia and dominance in Europe doing that? Someone elected on truths, facts, and principles may well have just done so. And broadly speaking, the UK is a place where many people are not engaged in the political process, which is why those who intend to affect the status quo in a radical way, quote unquote, are viewed with intense suspicion. If the past few years are any evidence, it's that the electorate are prepared to accept severe cuts to public services so long as the natural order of things is not disturbed. The British public, especially the English, for the most part, has a certain stoicism, a willingness to withstand social and financial strife that's currently being ruthlessly abused. It's verified by none other than Joseph Goebbels. Those of you that know your history will know that he's a Nazi politician. He was one of Hitler's closest associates. He put forth a theory which has come to be more commonly associated with the expression big lie. So big lie is a propaganda technique and logical fallacy. The expression was coined by Adolf Hitler when he dictated his 1925 book Mein Kampf about the use of a lie so colossal that no one would believe that someone could have the impudence to distort truth so infamously. So people noticed what he was doing, of course. Someone wrote this during World War II. His primary rules were never allow the plate to cool off, never admit a fault or wrong, never concede that there may be some good in your enemy, never leave room for alternatives, never accept blame, concentrate on one enemy at a time, and blame him for everything that goes wrong. The writers concluded, people will believe a big lie sooner than a little one, and if you repeat it frequently enough, people will sooner or later believe it. Sound familiar? You're getting the picture of the bus in your head? 350 million a week. That's it. So Goebbels wrote the following paragraph in an article dated 12th of January 1941, 16 years after Hitler's first use of the phrase. The article, titled Churchill's Lie Factory, says, the essential English leadership secret does not depend on particular intelligence. Rather, it depends on a remarkably stupid thick-headedness. The English follow the principle that when one lies, one should lie big and stick to it. They keep up their lies, even at the risk of looking ridiculous. Again, sound familiar? Why have the world death comparisons gone from the UK briefing? We're just asking the questions, figure out the answer for yourself. After Johnson's speech on Sunday night, we discovered that some of us were supposed to be going to work on Monday morning, and hopefully you've seen the quantity of passengers on some of the tubes down south. We then heard from Dominic Raab that those measures were to kick in until the Wednesday subsequent to it. So Again, lack of clarity, lack of leadership. One person from one household can meet another from another household in a park, but not their garden. You can meet one parent, not the other. Do they have a plan, really? Or are they making it up as they go along? Cleaners got to clean, but their manager can work from home. You see the problem. The manifestations are waiting to happen. 2 days ago, 2,615 new cases. Some say this will all pass soon enough. And the fact is, without clarity and leadership, this never will, not until we get a vaccine. And that could be 18 months. You elect a clown, expect a circus. So we'll leave it on that, guys. Like the vid, comment below on your thoughts on the clapping, going back to school, everything else we've spoken about. We're back again soon. Take care of yourselves. Eid Mubarak for everyone that is celebrating. Stay safe, stay home, and we'll see you next time. Take care.